One of the questions, which one or two questions, which we have found in many of our candidates who are attending, is around Azure Search. So today we'll talk about it. Azure Search. So will be there are 3 or 4 questions of Azure Search which are more likely to come in. So we'll just go through the Azure Search questions. But first, as we said that this whatever we are learning out here is not really to pass the AZ-204. That is the secondary benefit. The primary benefit that we want to learn, right? So very quickly, if you go and if you see out here, Azure Search, okay, very, let us Google, let's just Google Azure Search. Let's go to the, now this Azure Search has been called as Azure Cognitive Search, frankly. I'm sorry, a cognitive search. So it's no more like Azure Search, Azure Cognitive Search. So that's what it is. And if you look at this Azure Cognitive Search out here, right, that's the diagram of Azure Cognitive Search. And that's what exactly it does. So that's the diagram, and let me explain you what it is. Now, the main goal of Azure Cognitive Search is that it can search anything in your Azure service. You have a data blob, you have a data lake, you have blob storage, you have file storage, you have Azure tables, you have document DB, you have SQL server, right? So at the back end, you will have your data, which can be into any format, right? So this can be your any data which is there on your Azure out there. And then this cognitive search stands in between. And what it does is it does indexes on it. So what you will do is that you will go to the Azure Cognitive Search and say, I want to go and search on this Azure table. And that Azure tables fields, you will say that these are the indexes. He will go and he will create the index. And then whenever anybody searches out there, it will go and it will fetch the record. So it has indexes and it has a query engine. Query engine, which supports wildcard operator and or and a lot of other conditions, right? Now this Azure Cognitive Search, please note that it does not have a ready-made UI as such. It does not have there is an UI you can create, I'll show that. But if you want to integrate with your application, then you need to make a REST call. So then you can make a REST call to Azure services. You can say in the query string search equal to Shiv or Shiv star, and the cognitive search will search you, right? And your app will stand out here. So in Azure Cognitive Search, there are 2 things. First is it can go and it can search almost all the data sets, all the databases, type of databases what your Azure has. Second, it has a concept of indexes, wherein you go and you select, that, okay, this is the Azure table and on this field I want to index. So on whichever field you have indexed, on that the search will happen. And then finally, it has the query engine, right? Also, there is a concept here called as indexer. So there is indexes and there is indexer. What is the indexer? This indexer is a crawler. It will go, it will crawl depending on the indexes you have selected, and it, time and then it will try to just update the data into the indexes, right? So let me do like this. Let me go ahead and create first thing, a kind of an Azure storage must be, we can just take Azure tables, and then we create an index on the top of it, and we try to see that how our search looks like. And after that, what we'll do is we'll try to see that how we can do that by using C# language. Also how we can create an app. You can also go and create a quick demo app by using the Azure Cognitive Search as well, right? So let me go out here. Let me go and create a resource group first thing, or else I can just start with, let's first start with Azure Storage. So let me go and create a storage out here very quickly. And I'll create all the storage into the delete resource, so that we can delete it. Remember, I started now keeping this name delete, so that delete resource, right? So I will delete it after the class. So let's say that this is your Questpond storage. And we'll just keep this as standard and just let's keep it as it is. And there it is. And now you can go and you can create SQL Server as well if you want. You can go and create any other Azure Data Lake also if you wish. So I've just selected storage, so that we can just take one of the examples. But you can select other things as well. So there it is. You can see that the storage is getting created. So let it get created. Till then, how about going and creating the indexes, right? So I'm going to go Azure Search. So let's go and see Azure Search services. So in the search services, you can find there are a lot of things, but our interest is Azure Cognitive Search. So I'm going to go and click on Azure Cognitive Search, and let us put this into this delete resource out here. So we'll name this as QuestPond, QuestPond Search, QuestPond. Fine. Now you can see that at the end of the day, this indexes has to be stored somewhere. At the right hand side, just quickly, you can see that the storage account has been created. So we'll go to that thing later on. But you can see here we have something here called as partitions, replicas, and so on, right? Now, this first thing, what this is a storage. What is the storage for? For the indexes, because you have to store the indexes, you have to partition them, right? So in order to make the search faster, it does a lot of partitions as well. It says that, okay, this data is of this type, so let us put it into this partition so that the search can be quicker, right? So I'm going to go and take whatever is the default. Must be we can, that is something called as 2 GB out here if you want to just minimize the cost. And I can create 15 indexes. Look at that, indexes, indexer. Indexes, you will see that or search on customer address. So that is the index. For that, there will be an indexer which will run, crawl, and take the data. So remember, indexes and indexers are different. Replicas. Replica means you will say that, okay, the Azure search is one replica is in India also, and there's another replica in US as well, right? So let's select, let me select standard, because I don't know if you can see that there are no partitions out there. So I would like to get all the features, at least while I'm training. I see that in the basic, there are no partition concept, right? So let me say review and create. So there it is. I'm creating a service, an Azure search service. Now, when you're creating an Azure search service, once you create a search service, you have to go and you have to create an index into it, right? So there it is. I'm going to go and create it. Now, as I've said, that indexes, you will need some document at the back end, some kind of a database at the back end, right? Some data storage. So let us quickly go till then this indexes are getting created. Let us go to the storage account out here, and let us create some Azure tables. So here, okay, so there you can see at the right hand side, the search has also been created. So let's go and create an Azure table. And let me go and create a table here. Let us say table or customer addresses. This has customer addresses, right? So in this table, now remember, it can be SQL Server as well. So it's not that it has to be an Azure table. But I've just taken Azure table because we can just see a variety of examples. So I will go and I will add some entity out here. As we all know that when you talk about tables, this tables is nothing but actually a kind of a document DB, a kind of a NoSQL, I'm sorry. So you can see here it says partition key. So I'll say, okay, partition key is, let us say this is customer. So I'll say that the partition key is based on, let's say P1. P1 is one partition. I'll put in a partition called as Mumbai. So inside Mumbai, let's say this is Mulund. It's an area in Mumbai, right? So you can see here partition key, the city name must be, and then probably you want a row key, which is it cannot be Mulund actually. So let's say R1. I'm sorry, you cannot have a row key with the area name. So you can see I'm putting a partition on the city, so that if somebody says I want to search in Mumbai, he will just go to that partition, right? So here what I will do is I will go and I will create, let's say, a name variable, a name property, Shiv, and I'll say address. Now in this address, let me put some free text, and on this free text, our Azure Cognitive Search will run, right? So I'll say that this is Mulund area, right? Whatever, 4,000, right? Okay, and I will go and I will say insert, right? So I would like to go and search Mulund. So insert, right? So we'll try to go and search something on the free text. Let me add one more record out here. So let's say this is something from Delhi. So this is R2, row 2, but look at the partitions out there, right? So name Raju, right? Let's say sector 13. So Delhi. So, okay. and I will just say insert, right? So I have just put there two text fields I have, the address, and on that I want to go and do a search. Now remember that when you talk about search, it can be a document, it can be a text, it can be like a complete search engine you can create by using Azure Search, right? So I've just taken a simple address out there. So now on that, we need to go and create an index. So there it is. You can see now I'm going to the Azure Search out here, and here I will add an index. I'm sorry. Now what you can do is, one is you can add an index. To that index you can add a document, right? So if you want, you can do it manually, but the best way would be to import data. Most of the times you will import data. You will say that, okay, import this SQL Server and do this, right? So the manual creation, there can be scenarios of manual creation, but most of the time, at least I have seen that I have been importing data, right? So I'm going to go and say import data, and import data from where? Import data from, this is Azure Table Storage, right? So Azure Table Storage. So let's now, what is this? This is nothing but we are trying to create a data source, right? So I'll say this is DS123 something data source name, and you have to create a select and connection string. So let me go back again to the portal Azure, and let me go to the Azure table, and let me get the connection string of the table, right, or of the storage account. So there it is, access keys. So I can go and I can copy the connection string. Remember that you can use managed identity. In one of our classes, we had talked about managed identity, wherein I don't want to give the connection string out here. I want to go and log in through Azure Active Directory, which is much secured, right? But for now, let's not go into that. But yes, you can always go and authenticate using managed identity, and that is a right proper way of doing it. Why? Because if two services wants to talk to each other, if you start distributing your connection strings everywhere, then there is a security loophole, right? So for now, I'll do this, just the dirty way of doing it. So the table name out here was, so our table name was customer address, fine. So customer address. Now, if you want, you can go and you can give us a partition out here saying that, if you remember, we had two partitions we had created. One is Mumbai and one is Delhi. So if you want, you can really go and put here like partition key equal to Mumbai. This index will only search for Mumbai, right? So those kind of top level queries also you can give out here, right? But for now, I'm not really interested to do that. We can say that at this moment, go ahead and search in the full address text what you have out here. Now, the next, when you do a next out there, customer address does not exist. Address says, damn it. And I don't understand why it does not have a drop down. Right. Now you can see there is something here called as additional cognitive skills, right? At this point, we'll not cover this, but these are, more cognitive things. For example, you want a wildcard operator, or you don't want a wildcard operator. You want search from a certain criteria, so you can really add granularity, saying that, do you want to go and do at that level, and so on. So we'll leave this. Let's go to the basic part of Azure service. Now, this is the index. This is the index what will be created. Remember, guys, data and index, two things are different. Data and index are different. What we are trying to create out here is an index, right? I hope everyone is with me in SQL Server as well. If you remember, just for people who are thinking that, what am I trying to do out here? So basically, remember that data and index are different. So you have a data out here, which you don't want to go and read row by row. So what you do, that on that basis, you go and you create in SQL Server, you create a B-tree index, or whatever, right? And then when the search happens, right, the search looks up into this index, quickly goes and gets the data and give it to the end user. So what we are trying to do now is, this data is already there in that Azure table. Please understand, it is already there. It can be in Azure table. It can be in SQL Server, right? This index is given by the Azure Cognitive Search. So that's what we are trying to do, right? So when you say that you want to create this index, then you need to go and define some fields, right? So first thing, you can see lots of columns out here. So at the left-hand side, you can see your fields like name, address, and so on. So first thing, the first section is that, okay, retrievable. Do you want to get this field in your search? Yes or yes, like I want to get that field. I want to see the name. I want to see the address. I want to see the partition key, fine, even the row key. Okay. Row key, leave it. But I want to see the partition and so on, right? Is it sortable? Is it filterable? Is it a phase table? So you can see there are lots of sections out here saying that this field is what. So one is that for now, leave these three fields, these three things like filterable, sortable, and phase table. Actually, it is very understandable that on this field you want to filter, on this field you want to sort, right? But leave these three sections. Mostly in Azure indexes, the first and the last section is more used. So one is what you want to see, and one is on which you want to search. So here I'll say this is searchable, right? And what is the kind of search you want? You can see there is Arabic Lucent and Arabic Microsoft. So I want to say English search. What is this? What are these things out here? Analyzer. This analyzer, helps you to give wildcards. It has language specific things, right? So for now, I'll say that I want English, frankly. English. We shouldn't have English. Do we have English Microsoft? Okay, let's take this one. English. We just want an English search at this moment. Suggester. If you say like, okay, as I start typing it, I want to have an autocomplete. Then you can also use a suggester out there. Remember that when you create a suggester, guys, very quickly, I want to warn you, it will create an index over an index. So it really multiplies your storage. Okay. Fine. So I'll say next, create this indexer. There it is. So now what will happen? When you go and you create this indexer out here, it will go and it will schedule. It will take the index, and there is this guy called as indexer who will take this index, go to the Azure table, and create an index which can be a binary tree or whatever structure this Azure table defines, right? So I'll say submit, yes, go ahead and schedule it once. So there it is. You can see the Azure Cognitive Search is creating the index, right? So there it is. You can see the index is getting created. Guys, once I do this demo, I will come back to everyone for questions. So let me first complete this demo out here. So now you can see, first is you have got a URL. You can see that you have got a URL out here. This is the URL which you will hit to do a search, right? And if you see down below, you can see monitoring, and you will see index. These are the index and the indexer. So you can see here, this is the Azure indexer, which is actually running and doing the crawling. And once the indexer runs, the indexers will be created. Please note, indexer is the crawler. I don't know, like I didn't like this concept of giving them a name called as indexers. They shouldn't have even shown this actually outside, but fine. This is the crawler and this is the indexes. So once the crawler runs, once it finishes, you will see that the index is getting created. There it is. I'm refreshing. Okay, so there it is, success, and you can see there is an index created. So good. So now I can go to this index out here. This is the index, and this is the URL. So if you want to go and start searching, you can see questpond.search.com, windows.net, indexes, Azure table index. That's the name I'd given, and say search what. So I can go and I can say here, search. I want to search, let's say Mulund, right? I think I put some data of Mulund out there. So you can see now it has just fetched Mulund out here, right? I can go and I can just say sector star. So that will actually give me Delhi, should give me Delhi. So that it is Delhi, right? So you can see like I can now go and do a wildcard search, and there are a lot of other things that this the search, you can put an and, you can put an or, you can put a lot of things. So if you go to the tutorial, you will find that they have a special search document of how the things you can put, right? Now, definitely this is all of this is REST implemented. So that means that in your Windows C# or in your MVC application, if you want to call this, then you have to give this URL, you have to pass this thing to him, and it will give out the output in JSON. Okay. You can see that at the top out here, there is something here called as create a demo app. If you want, you can tell him to say that, okay, go and create a demo app for me. So what he will do is that he will create a very simple index.html or some HTML file, which can go and directly hit this URL, right? So that's what the demo app is. Now remember that whenever you say that HTML has to go and search on this Azure table index, or let's say MVC application you have, or a Java application. Now this Java application and MVC application are hosted into some other domain. So that's why you have to enable CORS as well, cross domain. If you don't enable CORS, then this search won't work, right? So let me go and create a demo app. Let us see how it is. So he's saying that, okay, if you want to go and create a demo app, can you enable the cross domain? Yes, I want to enable it. So what this does is it actually gives you a nice UI out here where it says that, okay, what do you want to display? I want to display the name, and I want to display the name. I want to display the address and so on. So just some simple UI out there. And when you say download this, it actually goes and creates a nice HTML page out here. You can see at the download. Now you can see that's my Azure Cognitive Search, and I can go and I can say, okay, I want to go and search Mulund. And that's what it is. I know that I don't have an image at this moment. That image should have been a URL, or I can go and I can search Gurgaon, and that's sector 13, right? So this demo out here, app out here is nothing but it just creates a sample demo application for searching, right? So remember, Azure Search does not have as such an UI from Azure. It is just a backend service. So guys, any questions on the basics of Azure Search? What is an Azure Search? What is an Azure Index? What exactly is an indexer? How you can go and configure things? So if you have any questions, you can put down on the chat. I can, yeah, index and indexer. So, well, let me explain the difference again. There's a question here from Manisar, index and indexer. Index means the name actually. So basically, well, so here it is. So you will say now, so here is your data, right? And you will say that you have, let's say, as we had a name and we had an address. So that indexer will say that, so first thing, if I want to go and search on this address, right, this address indexer should be created out here, right? So I should have this B tree or whatever, right, which will have the address fast search kind of a B tree out here. This is your actual indexes. But in order to create this, you have to tell that you have to crawl address, right? And that is the indexer. So the indexer is like a crawler, you know, so it goes, it crawls into this address out here and then creates this. So this is the indexer. So it's a crawler, right? You can think about it's a batch process. If you want to really not get confused, it's a batch process which takes all those text out there, organizes it, does a nice hash must be at the back end, and creates this backend indexes, right? So, okay, so good question out here. So question from Amit, let me just put it out here. So, is Azure Search will be on all table columns, or only the columns which are configured as searchable is only will be configured? See, if you put it on all columns, right, then you are replicating your data into the indexes. That would be a bad idea, right? So, for example, if it has an image, and that image has to, then you saw that I had a 25 GB space, it will just suck my 25 GB space, right? So it is only on which you define searchable, the indexes are created, right? So any questions here? Any queries? Yes. Index is only created on searchable column. Index is only created on indexes, on searchable columns, period. For the actual data, he will go to that data storage and make a lookup. Please note, for the actual data, he will never ever store the actual data out here. It can store actual data. It is not that. Then you have to make it as a part of the index document, which I will show you. But so this can be an Azure table. There you can have some SQL server. So only the index, but then later on he will go and say, okay, inside the SQL server now, the actual data he will retrieve from here. So only this is for searching purpose, getting that record as soon as possible. You can think about that. This is your clustered index, but on the Azure level. If you're really getting confused, the clustered and the non-clustered indexes, which you create in SQL Server, but it is not at the SQL Server level. It is at any data storage what you have in Azure, Data Lake, and data table, and so on. How many columns you can index? Well, you can index, depending on your storage, you can index as many you want. As a best practice, whatever you feel will be searchable from the end user. See, Azure indexes, Azure search is very costly service. Now, please understand. Azure Cognitive Search is a bit of a pricey service. At least the CPU storage, the CPU usage, and the data storage are quite pricey. So please understand that Azure storage you should use if you're thinking about a lot of flexibility and so on, right? So I would say that only on this column which you search, you should do it. So searchable columns, normally if it is numeric, it is good as a best practice. Searchable columns, which are having defined text, it is good. Text is also fine, like, if you have a free text, but images is a bad idea, video is a bad idea, and so on. The raw data, binary data is a bad idea of creating indexes. It's not like Google search and Bing. If you want to have Bing and Google search, then I think those are different. See the search, if you go and see the search services out here, well, this one here, Azure search. If you really want those Bing services, so that is a Bing service as well. Where is that? I just saw. So you can, yeah, somewhere there was Azure Bing service, right? See, Bing service is more at the HTML level. It is more when you have HTML documents and you want here. What we are talking about is we are talking about only Azure storages. You can index files as well, but here we are saying that you have an Azure table, you have an SQL server, you have you have a lot of other storages, Azure Data Lake, right? On this, you want to go and create a unified search. That's what Azure search is all about. So Azure search is not like a Google search engine or a Bing search engine. Those are different, right? So that's what Azure search, it creates an index on the top of your Azure services storage. If you want to use Azure Bing service, that is different. That means your index HTML, home HTML, or whatever text you write, you want to just go and archive it. So that search is quite different. Yes, it does have an ML and AI capability. Yes, it has a machine learning capability. It has an AI. That's why they name it as cognitive. It thinks properly when it comes to search. And for example, if you try to keep, if a lot of people are searching on the same text, that's why I read in the documents, guys. Let me not try to say that 100% on this, I don't want to carve it 100%, but what I've seen is that what is written in the documents out there is that if you, let's say if many users are searching on the same thing, it then tries to cache it. It tries to make the index much better organized. So those it does do. The index getting improved by every search is a part of the Azure search, right? Okay. Now, so this is good till here. But what about if I want to go and connect using C#? So using C#, I want to go and connect. I want to go and search, right? So here is a code, which I've downloaded from the Azure website, right? And I will just explain you this code out here. This code is downloaded from the Azure docs. So nowadays what Azure team is doing is everything it is trying to go and put it inside on the GitHub. So I've downloaded this from GitHub. So you can see here, first thing, you need to go and give the Azure credentials. So like, for example, at this moment, if you see my service name, so my service name at this moment is Questpond, Azure service name, search service, Questpond. So I'm going to go and give your, I can just type here Questpond. Right? So they are given this hotel quick start. So they will be creating an index by using C#. So you can see they are giving a name here saying hotel quick start V11, and we need the API key so that these guys can connect. So I'm going to go and copy this key out here. I did not like the keys of Azure search. This is so predictable. I don't know what kind of key is that. It is so predictable. 1, 2, 6, 3, 7, those kind of keys, they look so predictable. Fine. So this is the Azure API key out there. And so you have to give the API key and the endpoint URL. Now what you get out here is you get a search index client. Remember all of this, what you see out here is azure.search. So basically what I did is before the class, I went ahead and I ensured that I have the azure.search documents which helps you to actually go and connect to the Azure search, right? So first step one, it goes and validates your credentials. Second is it creates a search index client. What is the search index client? The search index client is the client, where you would like to go and say, okay, like hotel ID, is it searchable? Hotel name, is it filterable? Remember all that thing what we did through our UI, you can do it right from your C# program, right? So that's base rate, is it searchable, and so on. So you can see this is going, so the next step is going and defining the schema of the index, saying that which fields are searchable and which fields are displayable or retrievable, right? So what we did out there manually, we are doing it out from here. And then after that, you're going and you're creating the index, right? Now to this index, you can see that he has uploaded a batch. So basically what he has done is he has uploaded one batch file out here, batch data, just, something like some name, some category, and so on. Now this index document, this is the data part of the index. So one is that you can go and you can attach Azure blobs and Azure data storage, but if you want to store it inside that index only, you can use this index document. So here the index, the data gets stored into the Azure search infrastructure only, right? So he has, so rather than going and attaching to a service, he has just uploaded it out here, and then he is trying to make a search. So if you see here in the run queries method, is actually going and saying that filter by this search client and so on, right? So if you look at the overall steps of how in C# this thing is, you will first create the index client. You will then go and define the fields by using the search index, right? So one is the search index client, then is the search index, and then you will create the index. So you will need two things. One is the field names and the index, and second, after that, you can go and you can start search, right? So if I run this program, what will happen is it will go internally and it will create an index called as Hotel Quick Start, right? So I'm going to go and let's connect and let us do this. So I'll run this. Remember that all of this code is downloadable from Correspond VD. Even if you Google around, you will find that this is a part of GitHub. So I felt that rather than writing the code from scratch, we can just see the code what Microsoft has and run through it. So, so there it is. Okay, there's a question here. What can be the cost? So first thing, like Azure Search, this product, a lot of enterprises don't use, must be very less enterprises. The enterprises who use Azure Search are those people who want to do audit trail, who have a lot of databases at the back end, and they want to go and do some analysis saying that take this accounting data from SQL Server, take that logging data from somewhere, and then do something. So Azure Search, I've seen people using where they want to do analysis on disparate data systems, in a company. Okay, very less use I've found. Really, frankly, I mean, it's very less used inside the company as such. But where I found is that wherever people do analysis, where they have disparate systems, Azure Search they do use for displaying the Power BI reports, displaying some kind of management reports where they take data from disparate systems, right? But the usage is very less as compared to how much Microsoft is trying to promote it. Okay, so guys, let me go and run this. I'll keep coming back to questions. So there it is. It is creating the credentials. It creates a client, and you can see they have created a function here. Delete the indexes if it is there. So there are no indexes, so nothing to delete as such, frankly. So I don't know what this does, but there is no index created with that name, right? So the next step is it goes and it creates this search index, which is saying that which of the fields are searchable, which are the fields are sortable, and so on. And then he goes and creates an index. Now you can see that's what IDX client.createIndex does. It creates an index. For this index, we are uploading the data, right? So there it is. This is the index batch, which has been uploaded, right? And then finally it goes and it does a search. And so there it is. Simple search, which has been fired out here. So these are the output of the search, right? Now, if you go to the Azure service out here, then inside this search service now, we should see one more index getting created or one more indexers which are running, right? So if you see out here very quickly, you can see that's a hotel quick start. You can see out there, and that hotel quick start, it has some file records, and there it is. So you can see this has been created by using C#, right? So guys, any question on this code what I've ran here? This code which I've downloaded from the Microsoft website. Any questions? If you have any questions, you can put down on the chat. Elasticsearch, yes, Elasticsearch is definitely better, Omkar, but when it comes to Azure services, right, I like Azure Search. For example, the integration with Active Directory, integration with security, I think this is better as compared to the Elasticsearch. And Elasticsearch is a bit different. Elasticsearch also does not really go on different services. There are various issues, when it comes to integration with Elasticsearch. But you can use Elasticsearch as well. Okay, so yes, you can, Praveen, but then can it be implemented a whole landscape? Yes, you can, but then your organization data should lie in Azure services. It can, yes. But this code creating index file during runtime, how can we leverage search we configured from us? That is by consuming the REST service. Yes, you have to consume the REST service money. So very quickly. No, this Azure, so it does not. So let me answer this question out here. See, the index till now, whatever examples we have done, our storage was different. Let me first answer this. But this index does not have any Azure storage. No, it has a storage, but it is stored inside the index service only, inside the Azure search. When I go and I create this you can see here, index document action. This creates the document with the indexes. In Azure search only, you can upload documents if you want. Azure search uses internally to store documents. It uses something called as document DB. So if you want, you can use it. In our previous example, when I did it manually, I attached some third-party Azure table and so on. But yes, if you want, you can upload things into the document as well, right? So that's why we did not. There was no association directly as such because the data was uploaded into the Azure search. But this code creating index file during runtime, how can we? So you have to use the REST service. See, at the end of the day, what I'm doing now, you will create such kind of search index client, and then the URL you already have, and then you will go and write such kind of queries. Look at these queries out here. You will use the search options. In the search options, you will say, I want to search using whatever, the name of the variable and the options. You can see this is query 1. You can see query 2, right? You can see star options if you want to search using wildcard, right? So you have to go and actually create a search option and then fire it. So you have to do it all programmatically. Yes, you can crawl Azure blobs like PDF as well. Yes, you can. Oh, PDF? No, wait. I'm not sure about it. Text files you can, but I'm not sure about the PDF part. I have to search that. If the PDF part, they will crawl. Text files, I know that they do it. Last organization was uploading text files. PDF and other things I need to search. I don't have direct idea on it. Okay, so with this, guys, now I can see that a lot of questions coming in out there, but let us go ahead now to some of the questions which are related to AZ204, and I'm sure that you guys can answer it because now that we have done so much things out here, right? So here it is, question number 28. So we have like almost now 30 questions out there. Let me go and put a snip. So let us try to answer this question. Let us see that. We have already seen the code of C#, so you create an index in Azure Search. You need to import the restaurant data into Azure Search by using Azure Search SDK. If you see that example which is given by Microsoft, the question is based, right? So first, you create the search service client. So if you remember, let us go to our code out here. So we created the search service client. Well, it is a search index client. So assume that let's take that this is what it is. Create a data container. No, I don't think we did this. Create a data source. No, I don't think we did this, right? So does this meet your goal? I don't feel so. This does not meet the goal, because if you look at it, there are two prime things we have to do if you want to upload it. One is you have to create the search client, search index client. Remember, guys, don't worry about the name. This create service client is an old name actually. The create search index client is after they made it cognitive service. So don't worry about the name. Just remember the what do you call? Uh, just remember the fundamental out here. So I have to do search index client. Then I have to go and create these fields out here. And then I have to go and import the batch. So he was saying that you need to import data. So somewhere I should find this document batch or something, right? Nothing is out here. So this does not really meet the goal. So remember, in AZ204, do not try to by heart anything. Don't think that they will give you example like search service client or search index client. No, that kind of questions, I don't think they will ask, right? At least to my best knowledge. But they will want to know that, do you at least know the basic pseudocode, the class names and so on, right? The basic, at least the structure. So I feel that this answer is no, and it is no. So if you see out here, the explanation is out here is you have to first create the index, search index client, then you have to create the index batch, and then it will work. So we need to see something about the index batch, right? So that is the first question. So remember, this answer is no. But if you see something out here that he's creating an index batch, then you should give a thought. You should actually give a thought. And remember that he is very clearly saying here, you need to import data. The time you say you need to import data, then this should come in. When you say import data, you should see such kind of code somewhere, right? So that was not present. Okay, now let's look at the next question out here. Okay, let's see this. Oh, this image, I'm sorry to say, but a lot of these questions are copied from online. So the images are blurred, but here it is. You are configuring an Azure search indexer, right? And this is the UI. So here, now pay your attention on the field name. So you can see on the field names, you can see this first one is, so sorry, just let me snip it. I know that the image is very, very bad, but if you remember, keep your eyes on two things. This first thing out here, I'm sorry. This one out here is retrievable. And the last one out here was searchable. So I can see here, there is a searchable on this partition key. There is a searchable on item name. There is no searchable on the item description. So certain things I can see out here, right? Fine. So let us see the question ahead, right? So this service has been configured with an indexer that uses the import data option. And these are the options out here. You use Azure table as a data source for importing the operation. So as we did, we use an Azure table to import the data. So there it is. Oh, I'm so sorry for this. And so the images are very bad, right? But you can see here what he's saying is he's trying to search bag out here. He's not getting any data out here, output. Guys, this, I know this image here. So here, if you remember this UI, we can put the query search here. So here he is writing search equal to bag, and no data is displayed out here. So that means that there is some problem in this Azure search, right? So let us see what the problem is. So let's see the options. When the user searches for items by description, the search explorer returns no records. That is but obvious. That is but obvious. If you search it on the description, if you remember on the description, the searchable was not clicked. Remember one of the questions someone asked, or one of our friends asked here, that if you don't click on the searchable, will it index? No, it will not. The search will not work. So here, this description, this last checkbox has to be checked, right? So I already am trying to give you the answer as well, right? User is trying to search for all items in the table that have description that contains the word bag, and definitely it will not. You need to resolve the issue. So what is the correct way of doing it? So let's see. Definitely the first thing is, I'll just give you the answer. You have to create an indexer and you have to create an index. Two things at least you should do, right? So you can resolve the index by recreating the search index with the same setting, except for item description, select searchable. Absolutely. Let me just, so the first thing, You will accept item description. This pen's out here. Oh, come on, black color. So yes, first is this one. Yes, this is the right thing. I have to do it. You can resolve the issue by selecting index, editing the item description, and selecting searchable. I would you resolve by selecting the index, editing the item. This no. Once you create an index, you cannot really edit it. You cannot edit it. So this I will select this as no. Let me show you. For example, in our portal as well, we had some indexes which we had created, right? So if I go out here, at least to my best knowledge, guys, if you have an existing index, to go and edit that is a bit difficult, at least to my knowledge. Okay, let me see that. Indexers you can, but indexes I don't think you can. So if I go to this Azure table indexes out here, and if I go to the fields out here, you can see that this is difficult. Can I? It does not allow me to change that indexes. So very quickly, is going there. Remember, he did not say indexer. Please understand. I'm again saying he did not say indexer. He said index. Index you cannot change. Indexer you can change. And you can resolve by running the indexer. Absolutely. You have to create the index and you have to run the indexer because the indexer will clock. You can resolve the issue by changing the query string in the search explorer to bag off. Bag off. I don't know what is that, but looks like that he's saying, because this off must be some kind of a keyword, like how we are bag like, but I don't think that's the right thing, right? With only the bag it should come. So the answer is you have to create an index with a searchable option. So that's the answer for that. So that's answer is, what's that answer? Yeah, I'm not sure, but this is yes. This is the online terms and this is the yes, right? Okay. So, so those are the two questions, guys. Any queries on the questions? Let me know. Any queries on the question? Damn simple questions on Azure Search. Azure Search is a part of the syllabus. I think so. Azure Search is a part of the syllabus, isn't it? At least to my knowledge, it is. Actually, you know, there are some people who give it last week. They got Azure Search in 204. So I'm also really confused. Like, that's why I took it today. Azure Search is a part of the syllabus, at least to my knowledge. Let me go and check. I don't know, like this is really confusing. And let me go and check. I took Azure Search today because last week, you know, one of our members took the certification and they said, sir, Azure Search some questions. Remember, there is a lot of confusion out there. Let me go and see. It's possible. It is possible. Exam is at 204. It is possible.